It's in the name.
Welcome into the Helping Healing Humor with Ben and Travis podcast. I don't know why I paused so long there, but we're going to be talking to you about the benefits of forgiveness. And I may just sing a lot of Toby Mac, right? Because we all need forgiveness. And we'll talk about such an important topic right after these important messages. This episode of the Helping Healing Humor with Ben and Travis podcast is presented by Faulkner University. Faulkner University is a private Christian liberal arts university based in Montgomery, Alabama, with a mission to provide an education anchored by not only intellect, but also character and service. The Faulkner experience aims to educate the whole person. Every individual matters every day. We all want to become better versions of ourselves. No one wants to remain trapped where they are because of missed opportunities and unrealized dreams. At Faulkner University, we believe your dreams don't have an expiration date. We understand that you're looking for more than a degree. You want to find your niche and thrive in your career. Whether you're a high school senior just beginning your trek or an adult student looking for a better path, Faulkner is here to help guide your journey. Go to faulkner.edu to apply or get more info. That's faulkner.edu. I'm Travis Creasy. That's all-pro counselor with 3-Chord Counseling in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. He's also the preaching ministers. That I guess that's the right title at Highland Park Church of Christ. Ben, how are you, man?
I'm great. I'm trying to figure out what this rare substance is that's falling from the sky in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. There's a little bit of moisture outside, and that's a good and welcome thing considering it's been really, really hot this week. So I'm hoping the temperatures begin to plummet because I am a fall and winter guy. I'm not much for the summertime, but Will, I think, likes the summertime. So how you doing, Will?
I'm just glad it's football season.
Yeah.
That's all I care about. I started my training for St. Jude.
There you go.
2 days ago, and yesterday I ran 4 miles. And it was 105 degrees at 2 p.m.
Why would you start this week? That just seems like a really weird thing to do, but whatever.
I was sitting there running around the track at Marcel, and I was like, maybe I'm just proving to myself that I've got more strength than all these football players that are walking around, because all of them are like, why are you out here? So I was like,
he's probably trying to make room for that chicken stew he's going to eat as we do this the Friday heading into Labor Day.
I got the text 2 hours ago from my cousin, Monday afternoon, our house chicken stew. So
nice.
Will,
this is the first time in a while that we've seen your face on the podcast. I think it's good to have you back. I don't know. It may have been pre-Maywood.
Well, I made the short dodgeball one, but
okay, that's right. That's right. That's true.
But that was, I think that was the first since probably Maywood. So Sweet. It's summer for youth ministers is just not.
It's wild. Wow, now I'm busy. I guess y'all are probably enjoying the lack of group text from Travis. He has left the chat. My buddy Turner in my other group texted me the other day. He's like, dude, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. It's just nose to the grindstone. But like I mentioned in the intro, we're going to talk a little bit about forgiveness and the benefits. I know I didn't grow up thinking of forgiveness as being kind of a selfish thing. I was very old until that point. I guess selfish is probably not the right word, but there are some benefits to extending forgiveness to other people. And I, much like you, I'm sure, remember being told to apologize. Not always did I understand why I was apologizing.
Nor was it always heartfelt when.
Yes, exactly. But there is that aspect. And I always go back to Jesus on the cross, pleading for the forgiveness of these people, even though they didn't know what they were doing, and they didn't necessarily apologize. And so maybe some aspects of that, and oddly enough, I don't know that I necessarily would think of it this way, but it can help us physically when we forgive people.
I mean, there seems to be a lot of links. I mean, you can Google it, you can look them up, you can think about them yourself. But there's a lot of things like lower heart rate, lower blood pressure, things along that line that, your forgiveness seems to make a big difference in those. And it makes sense because of the stress that it puts in your life to have somebody that you're constantly frustrated with or angry with. And if you let those things continue, then it's going to cause a lot of health struggles for you in the future.
Will you agree, or you do you want to disagree? You know, argue with Ben over there?
No, I think part of it is like one thing you said is just like the word relief and freedom. To me, like there's so many things. Lindsay and I sat down the other day and we looked at our schedule, and on our app that we use, there's a bunch of little dots for every single event that we have. And I think every day had like 3 dots on it, and so we're sitting there going, holy cow. And we had not even added in family stuff. And so I'm just going, we live in a society where there are so many things that we're already stressed about. It's good to just be able to just get something off your chest. The past couple of weeks, I've talked with a young man who has started coming back into the church. And one of his biggest things is we've started a group of young adults that meet with him every week. And he said, y'all don't know how much this does for me to just feel like I'm able to talk to somebody. He met with us the other day and he's like, man, I could have punched my boss. And all these guys were like, join the club, man. Like there's days where we all feel like that. And when we walked away, he texted me that night when he got home and he said, dude, I just feel so much better. And I think some of that forgiveness, being forgiven, knowing how God looks at us, just in my opinion, allows us to kind of open up and live life maybe just a tad more free, just to know, hey, if I do screw up, I know that God's got me. I know that my friends got me. And so that I can continue to keep moving forward in a way that allows me to feel better about who I am. And I think part of it comes into self-image. I can't tell you once again over the past 2 months of being around a lot of students at Mars Hill within our own youth group, how bad young people's self-image of themselves truly is. And just to know, like, hey, when I am forgiven, when I forgive others, when I understand the forgiveness of God, it just makes my whole self-image feel better as a person. And when I guess we were mentioning Dion, when we feel good, we play good. You look good, you feel good, you play good, and it helps us become who we really want to be. So, I mean, man, physical benefits, mental benefits. I think there's so much that goes into it. I just don't know that it's a topic that we always fully grasp really, really well.
Well, it's crazy that God created us. And then he talks about the importance of forgiveness. And I don't want to get too far ahead of us, but he did create us. Mm-hmm. And so we shouldn't be shocked if you believe that, you believe God created you, that there are certain things he commands us that there are benefits to. And I know that a lot of times I connect forgiveness with spirituality, and that's one of the points later on in a different episode, maybe. But it is oftentimes we shouldn't be shocked that it is physically good for us. And I've been in those situations, I'm sure you have, where it was a process. There are people that, as long as we've lived, that there are probably people that we couldn't forgive immediately. And it was something that we had to process. And I know that there are people in my life that, maybe I didn't feel the need to say to them, I forgive you. And I don't necessarily that people looked at me and thought that I was in the wrong and there was something that I need to say. Usually when we're in the wrong, that's when we need to say something. And I'm not disputing that. But I think that sometimes if we've been wronged, sometimes we feel like we can sit back and let it come to us. And I will say, just from personal experience, the times where I've worked through something, and there have been times where it's been decades that I had to work up to that point to look at that person and go, I forgive you. There's not any kind of angst on my end, and there's a release there. And I could see in their face that it relieved some stress and anxiety that they had. And certainly from my own end, I could feel that kind of release. And maybe I didn't feel it or know that I was even walking around with it.
Yeah.
But the moment presents itself, and it's a tremendous gift from that point. And so that kind of leads us into emotional hurt. And in that particular example I was thinking of, that's exactly what was going on. And I had to work through it.
Well, and I go back to some of that with what you were saying. There's 2 times in the book of Matthew that he talks about going to your brother. And one of them is if your brother has sinned against you. And the other one is if you know you've hurt your brother. So basically what he says is nothing should ever be left undone. You're either going to them or they're coming to you, but it's always going to be addressed one way or another, because I think he knows it's not good for us, whether it's our blood pressure or whether it's our stress level or whether it's our heart rate or, whatever the things. And we know that if you've got high blood pressure, you got high heart rate, you got any of those things for any period of time, that creates damage to your physical heart. So there's just a lot of things that you don't want to keep keep left undone. You've got to get those things sort of dealt with and taken care of. And so you're right. That does kind of lead into the emotional aspect of it, because emotionally we need it too, because it's really hard to walk around stressed out all the time and emotional about things all the time and it not impact us too. So, forgiveness helps kind of free us from those things as well, as we go through everyday life with people.
I think that there's an aspect there of be careful of expectation too, right? You may say, I forgive you, or however you say it, and they may not be ready, right? They may not be ready to cross that bridge, but I would think that at some level it could only help by knowing that at least one person in that relationship is willing to let go and is willing kind of on the other side of the bridge to go, I'm ready to receive you now. If that's where you're at.
I've had people come to me. I remember one situation. I don't even remember what the situation was, but I remember somebody coming to me and said, I have thought about something for a long time that I said to you. And it was like 15 years before that they came to me and they were like, I've carried this around and I'm tired of carrying it around. And I just need to say, I'm sorry about it. And I just kind of looked at him and said, I don't have a clue what you're talking about. Like I had no idea what they were talking about. So they had carried something around for 15 years on their chest that they worried about that I didn't even know about, that I didn't even remember. And so that's an even bigger thing that kind of tells you forgiveness isn't just always about the other person. A lot of times it's about you, because you need to forgive so that you can let it go. And had they just, they could have not carried that around for 15 years, but they did. And I didn't even have a clue.
Yeah.
And so,
well, you never experienced kids walking around with any of that, right? They're just all happy go lucky and let it go.
Yeah, that's what I was sitting there like trying to like maybe put into words, is this idea of people. I guess we think of like forgiveness in the sense of, okay, I did something really bad. God, I'm sorry, or Ben, Travis, I'm sorry. And then we just go, but we never it's so hard to me to forget it. Right. It's like, I know that I can be forgiven. And I see so many young people go, hey, I know they're sorry, but yet it's amazing to me that even people show up 6 weeks later and they're like, I'm just having a hard time coming because of what they did to me, and I'm just going, I look at scripture and one of my favorite passages, Hebrews 8, where God says, I will remember their sins no more. And I think that's difficult at times for us to get to a point where we can truly forgive and forget. But then you see the people that, hold on to something like what Ben says for 10 years or 15 years or whatever. And I'm just going, man, if we can start to grasp, of course, scripture, forgive so that you may be forgiven, and I look at that and go,
Will, how dare you?
I know, step on some toes here. I'm crushing my own first. I look at that and say, okay, here's this thought of, I want to forgive the way God forgives. I don't want to just strive for the forgiveness in the world standards or what the world's definition is of forgiveness, but I want to look at it and go, well, God has promised to me he's going to forgive and he's going to remove them, and he's not going to choose to bring them up anymore. And so it's it's almost as if it never happened.
Yeah.
And then I look at my own forgiveness, and when I'm able to look at somebody and forgive them and forget, or try, I don't know that I'll truly ever forget, but choose not to bring it up anymore.
If it's not the first thing that comes to mind, right? You've been successful, right?
The relationship is so much better, but I feel better and I value that person even more now because it's like, well, they've had to deal with me and they're still friends with me based on all my idiotic decisions or just mannerisms or words or whatever it may be. And I think it truly helps us to start to move closer to each other when we start to forgive in the ways that God has called us to forgive. And I don't know that we may not even ourselves understand how God chooses to not remember or chooses not to bring it up anymore. And so that's such a hard thought to grasp. But when I read those passages, I go, oh man, thanks be to God, because that's the most comforting thing I've read, in a long, long time. Now I want to challenge myself to do that same thing. And when I see kids do that within school at Mars Hill or within the youth group, youth ministry, I just see such happier people.
Fly away.
Like our world's already full of enough chaos and enough things that we're frustrated with. Man, now we're able to move forward, and it's actually being the church, right? Like I'm actually being Jesus in the sense of what you mentioned. I can look at somebody and I'm not looking at what they've done. I'm looking at what they can be. And to me, that's a really powerful thing in our lives and in the lives of other people.
I mean, I want to be the person that, like you said, I want people to be able to forgive me. And I think the more I'm willing to forgive others, according to the verse you mentioned earlier, the more I'm willing to forgive, I think that's not just God being willing to forgive us, but I think other people are patient with us. If they see us being patient with others, they have a tendency to be more patient. And that doesn't happen 100% of the time, but it feels like, generally speaking, that seems to be the case. You find somebody who's loving and compassionate, then you're going to feel more compelled to be loving and compassionate and forgiving towards them.
Yeah, I think there's an aspect. I've been harping on this. You guys have heard this. It won't be the first time you've heard it, but there's an aspect of what God commands us to do. One of the reasons it's a command is it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? This is a demand. This is what I want you to work towards. You may not ever arrive there, but this is the goal. And the goal is to forgive like God forgives. And so I say that in two ways. I'm not making an excuse if it's hard for you to forgive. I'm just saying it's a club, welcome and forget. But it is something that is God-like, that is tangible for us. And the older I get, man, the more I just walk around mad all the time, Will. I hate it. Like I don't know. I hate it. And I'm sure there are people out there going, Travis is mad all the time. But man, like I just fake it real good to people. Now, my wife, on the other hand, I'm not faking her out. Like there's no faking it out. And there are times where I'm just like, I'm going to sit over here and keep my mouth shut, because whatever it comes out, even if I'm not trying to be negative, it's going to sound negative. And even if I'm sitting over there, she knows. And that's the thing. God knows.
There's a quote that kind of goes with what you were just saying, and something that I looked up earlier. Lewis Smedes: to forgive is to set a prisoner free and to discover that prisoner was you.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I really believe in the sense forgiveness does more for us than it does really for the other person. And it puts us more in the image of God and moves us into a closer relationship with him, which then goes back to what you said. A lot of times that's just really hard because it's being
simple. It's simple, but it ain't easy all the time. I think of people who difficulty of calling God Father, right? Because their father was not necessarily a good person. I mean, the command to honor your father and mother, he does not put a qualifier on there. He doesn't go, well, if they're honorable, there's a level of honoring them that is a command. Now, you don't have to profusely lie about what a good person they were. But I think about social media. Like, there's no reason to go blast them on social media or something like that to another person, maybe outside of your counselor right then. But, and I think people that go out of their way, even if their parents are decent people, that'll go out of their way to dishonor them or talk bad about them. And those are not easy. There are people out there who have legit reasons why it's hard for them to reference God as Father.
Yeah.
But it is something to work toward.
Yeah, and the whole idea of being able to let that prisoner go, I love that, and it being you, because I've seen so many people who, and of course in therapy, a lot of times when I'm meeting with people, that's a difficult topic to forgive, and they may even say, I know that God tells me to forgive, but this is really tough for me to do. This is a hard thing to do. And so I think it's one of those things, it's almost a part of discovery for your own life to be able to get to it. Like you can't just, like Will can't just say, hey, you need to go forgive them. Kind of like what we were talking about when we let it off. Our parents say, go tell them you're sorry. Well, it's fine if I go tell them I'm sorry, but I still may be carrying it around all day. I may have said it, but just because I said I'm sorry doesn't actually mean I forgave you.
Ladies, forgive that girl that gave you a dirty look 20 years ago. Okay?
Exactly.
Let's do it.
Destin just cut her eyes over here at me. So, but you're right. I mean, there's so many people carrying around things from 20 years ago, from 15 years ago, but we can say it. But until they take the time to sort of discover that and walk through that, themselves, then that's,
there's head knowledge of what I should do.
Part.
There's head knowledge of what I should do.
Exactly.
And there's the actually doing it. Hey, parents and young adventurers, are you ready to embark on an extraordinary journey? Introducing The Adventures of Ben and Travis and the Worry Coaster, a thrilling ride through the ups and downs of mental health in our new children's book. Join our dynamic duo as they navigate the twists and turns of their emotions while discovering the courage to conquer their worries. Pre-order your ticket to adventure now at benandtravis.com/books and be among the first to embark on this roller coaster of resilience. Let's turn worry into wonder and empower kids to embrace their feelings with bravery and hope. Buckle up. It's going to be an unforgettable ride. The good old-fashioned dislike podcast question of the day is, what 20-year-old sports person should you forgive? They just tore, it doesn't have to be 20. It could have been last week, right? You're having a hard time. Sports situation that you need to forgive. I need to forgive. I'm not ready. I'm not ready to do this, but I need to forgive Peyton Manning for leading Rocky Top at Legion Field in 1990, whatever that was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, that one's a good one.
So what y'all got?
Will, what you got?
Mine's not an actual game, that just made life miserable. Mine more is Don Shula for rejecting to autograph a 13-year-old boy's Alabama program because he said he didn't have enough time because he had to get somewhere. Like, bro, you're the only undefeated dude, like led the Dolphins undefeated season, all that, like, and you reject a 13-year-old boy who's asking for your autograph. It's like, forget you, man. Forget you.
He's not ready.
Like,
head knowledge, walking through the door, not happening.
Like Tyrone Prothro, like I've got Mike Shula. His son had time for me. Everybody else.
He was a good dude.
But Don just.
All right, we have a guest star that's going to come on and give hers. Apparently,
Mrs. Mars Hill in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Mrs. Mars Hill.
Does Miss Mars Hill actually hold grudges?
Yes. Because I was about to go to bed the other day, and I was on TikTok. Well, actually, no, I don't even remember. It was Instagram or TikTok. And I was like, this video came on, and I was like, well, what is this? And it was a football play. And I was like, oh, it's Alabama and Auburn. I was this is going to be good.
You didn't watch it.
I hold a grudge. Oh, I did watch it, and I got really mad. I hold a grudge against all the Alabama players that didn't stop whatever that guy's face was from getting that.
On the kick six.
Yeah, that
kick six. I mean, we all know. I knew when you started saying it was an Alabama and Auburn game, I knew which game it was going to be.
I just love how it wasn't Chris Davis's fault. It was every one of the special teams players.
All the people who just completely missed.
That is a true coach's daughter right there.
I could have gotten him and they didn't. Like, that's just embarrassing on their part.
I hope none of them are listening to that.
That is a take.
That is a take.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, so that one was really close to being mine, but I could probably say that one, or oh man, maybe when I love Mark Ingram, but I think it was Mark Ingram that fumbled the ball
out of the back of the end zone.
Yeah, when in the cam back.
Oh,
So
I
the
wish it would
other
have went out the end zone. Did it go out the end zone? I thought they recovered it.
no, it went out the end zone.
It went out.
It rolled straight down
It
the
rolled
sideline.
straight. It
Never happens.
Because
Like,
if it would have gone out of bounds,
Yeah.
it would have stayed with us.
He had 2
Right.
fumbles in his
Yeah.
entire career. That Iron Bowl and the Rocky Block. He fumbled the ball in Rocky Block and set up Tennessee to make that a ball game.
And I love that
2
guy.
fumbles.
I love
But
that guy.
then-
But those 2 events, and maybe I should forgive the football for rolling in such a straight line.
Yeah, I'm holding
That
the
was-
football in contempt there. Also, can I say Isaiah Bond? Like,
Yeah, that one's rough. That one's
dude,
rough.
you're an Alabama legend forever, and you're going
And
to
you-
pass that up
And
for a
you-
Lamborghini. Like, there's how many people in Tuscaloosa can buy you a Lamborghini? Like, all of them. Nick Saban can buy you one now. But yeah. Anyways, in the comments, wherever you're seeing this, let us know, who do you need to forgive, right? Maybe you're not ready to walk through the door, head knowledge, you need to forgive them, but you know it's not coming anytime soon. It would be this number, like he actually knows music. Peyton Manning, you don't know music. That's why you got Brad Paisley in your commercials. Everybody have a great day. I'm getting fired up. I need to do some forgiveness training, and we'll talk at you again soon. Part 2 coming soon.
Thanks for being with us for this episode of the Helping Healing Humor podcast. Be sure to download our free ebook, 28 Days of Focused Living, at benandtravis.com and receive all of our Helping Healing and Humor extra content directly in your inbox. We look forward to having you join us at the same Ben and Travis time, same Ben and Travis channel.